Hey everyone, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you're listening from. Welcome back to Daily Cup English.
Hi, guys. We're so happy you're here today. If this is your first time listening, welcome. And if you've been with us for a while, thanks for coming back again.
Yeah, seriously, we really appreciate you. This podcast is all about learning English through real, everyday conversations, the kind people actually use in daily life.
Exactly. No textbooks, no pressure, just two people talking, sharing thoughts, experiences, and stories, so you can listen, relax, and slowly improve your English.
And quick reminder before we start, if you enjoy this podcast, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow Daily Cup English.
We upload new podcast episodes every single day, so you'll always have fresh English content to listen to, perfect for your morning coffee or evening break.
Daily English, just like a daily cup of coffee.
That's right, one small cup at a time.
All right, so Chloe, today's topic is something I really wish someone had talked to me about when I was younger.
Same here. Honestly, I think this topic hits close to home for a lot of people.
Today, we're talking about life skills you should learn before 25.
Yeah, not school subjects, not exams, but real life skills that actually affect your daily life.
Things that no one really teaches you in school, but somehow everyone expects you to know once you're an adult.
Exactly. And if you're over 25 and listening, don't worry, it's never too late. We're still learning too.
You know, when I was in my early 20s, I thought being an adult just meant having a job and paying rent.
Same. I remember thinking, okay, once I graduate and start working, everything will just work out.
Yeah, but no one really tells you how confusing that time can be.
Totally. You suddenly have more freedom, but also way more responsibility, and sometimes you're not ready for either.
And that's where life skills come in. Things like managing money, handling stress, communicating with people.
Or even understanding your own emotions. I didn't realize how important that was until much later.
Same here. I used to think, I'll figure it out later. But later comes really fast.
It really does. And a lot of people feel lost in their 20s, but they think they're the only ones.
Yeah, like everyone else has it together except you.
Which is not true at all. Most people are just learning as they go.
And honestly, making mistakes is part of the process. But learning some basic life skills earlier can save you a lot of stress.
That's why we wanted to talk about this today. Not to give advice like teachers, but to share our own experiences.
Things we learned the hard way.
Very hard way in some cases.
So, in this episode, we'll talk about different life skills we believe are really helpful to learn before 25, or as early as possible.
And if you're listening right now and thinking, wow, I'm struggling with this, that's okay. You're not behind.
You're just human.
Exactly. And hopefully, after listening, you'll feel a little more confident and a little less alone.
All right, let's get into it. The first life skill we want to talk about is something almost everyone struggles with at some point. And yeah, the first life skill we want to talk about is probably one of the most stressful ones for young people: managing money.
Oh, wow. Yes. I feel like almost everyone struggles with this, especially in their early 20s.
Definitely. When I got my first full-time job, I thought, great, I finally have money. But I didn't really think about how fast it could disappear.
Same here. I remember seeing my first paycheck and feeling rich for about 2 days.
Exactly. And then rent, food, bills, everything hits at the same time.
I think the biggest problem is that no one really teaches you how to manage money. You just kind of learn by making mistakes.
Yeah, and some of those mistakes can be pretty expensive.
Very expensive. For me, it was using my credit card too much. I thought, I'll pay it back later, but later came with interest.
That's a classic one. I did something similar. I wasn't spending on big things, but I spent a little bit every day. Coffee, food delivery, random online shopping.
Those small things add up so fast.
They really do. At the time, I didn't track my spending at all. I just hoped my money would last until the end of the month.
Hope is not a plan.
Exactly. I learned that the hard way.
I think one important money skill to learn before 25 is simply knowing where your money goes.
Yes, you don't need to be an expert, just basic awareness.
Like, how much do you earn? How much do you spend? And what do you spend it on?
Once I started writing those things down, even in a simple notes app, it was kind of shocking.
Same. I realized I was spending way more on things I didn't really care about.
And less on things that actually mattered.
Exactly. Another thing I wish I learned earlier is the difference between needs and wants.
Oh yeah, food is a need. Ordering food every night is a want.
Rent is a need. Buying things just because you're bored is a want.
And there's nothing wrong with wants. The problem is when wants control your money.
Right. I think before 25, it's really helpful to learn how to balance enjoying life and being responsible.
Because money stress affects everything. Your mood, your relationships, even your sleep.
So true. I used to feel anxious every time I checked my bank account.
Same here. And that stress made me avoid looking at my money, which made things worse.
Avoiding the problem never helps.
Another skill is saving, even if it's a small amount.
Yes, people think saving means putting away a lot of money, but that's not realistic for everyone.
When I was younger, I thought, I don't make enough to save. But the truth is, saving is a habit.
Exactly. Even saving a small amount each month can make a big difference over time.
And it gives you a sense of security. You feel a little more in control.
Which is so important in your 20s when everything else feels uncertain.
I also think learning about money early gives you more freedom later.
Freedom to make choices, not just take whatever comes.
Yeah, it's not about being rich, it's about not feeling trapped.
And honestly, learning to manage money before 25 isn't about being perfect, it's about being aware and willing to learn.
You'll still make mistakes, we all do.
But if you learn them early, you'll thank yourself later.
All right, so managing money is definitely a big one.
And it connects to so many other parts of life.
Speaking of that, the next life skill we want to talk about is something that affects your work, your friendships, and even your mental health.
So yeah, the next life skill is something I personally struggled with for a long time. Communication, especially knowing how to say no.
Oh, that's a big one. I think a lot of people in their 20s have trouble with that.
Definitely. When I was younger, I was always worried about what people thought of me.
Same. I didn't want to disappoint anyone.
Exactly. So I would say yes to everything: extra work, social plans, favors, even when I was tired or stressed.
And then you end up feeling exhausted and frustrated, but you don't know why.
Yes, I used to think something was wrong with me, but really I just didn't know how to communicate my limits.
I had a similar experience at work. Early in my career, I thought saying yes would make people like me more.
Did it?
Not really. It just made people expect more from me, all the time.
That's such an important point. When you don't set boundaries, people don't know where the line is.
Exactly. And communication isn't just about talking, it's about being clear.
I think before 25, it's really helpful to learn that saying no doesn't make you a bad person.
Yes, you're not being rude, you're being honest.
I remember the first time I said no to a friend because I needed rest, I felt guilty all day.
But what happened?
Nothing bad. My friend understood, and I felt so much better afterward.
That's the funny part. We imagine the worst, but most of the time people are okay with it.
And if they're not, that tells you something too.
True. Another part of communication is expressing your thoughts and feelings clearly.
Yes, instead of keeping everything inside and hoping people will understand.
Because they usually don't.
Exactly. I used to think if they care, they'll know how I feel, but that's not realistic.
People can't read your mind.
Right. So learning how to say things like, I need some time, or I'm not comfortable with that, is a huge life skill.
And it's not about being aggressive, it's about being calm and respectful.
I think that's where many people get confused. They think communication means confrontation.
But it doesn't have to be. Good communication actually prevents conflict.
Especially in relationships, friends, family, coworkers, even romantic partners.
Yeah, poor communication creates misunderstandings, stress, and resentment.
And resentment builds quietly. You don't notice it until it's too late.
That's so true. I've seen friendships slowly fall apart because people didn't talk honestly.
Same. And most of the time, the problem wasn't big, it just wasn't spoken.
So learning to communicate early helps you build healthier relationships.
And it also helps you respect yourself more.
Because when you speak up, you're saying, my time and energy matter.
Exactly. I wish someone had told me that in my early 20s.
Me too. It would have saved me a lot of stress.
But the good news is, communication is a skill. You can practice it.
You might feel uncomfortable at first,
Very uncomfortable.
but it gets easier every time.
And once you learn to communicate better, so many parts of life become simpler.
All right, so we've talked about managing money and communication.
And next, we're going to move into something a bit more internal, how you deal with your own emotions.
Yeah, so the next life skill is a little more internal, but just as important: emotional control and self-awareness.
Honestly, I think this is one of the hardest skills to learn, especially when you're young.
Definitely. In your early 20s, emotions can feel very strong and very confusing.
I remember feeling everything so deeply: stress, anger, excitement, disappointment, all at once.
Same here. And back then, I didn't really understand why I felt the way I did.
Exactly. I used to think emotions just happened to me and I had no control.
That's a great way to put it. I reacted to everything without thinking.
Me too. If I was angry, I showed it. If I was sad, I tried to hide it.
And neither of those reactions really helped.
Not at all. I think self-awareness starts with simply noticing your emotions.
Yeah, asking yourself, what am I feeling right now and why?
When I first started doing that, it felt strange. I wasn't used to checking in with myself.
Same. I used to ignore my feelings until they exploded.
That's so common. You push things down and then one small problem makes you lose control.
Exactly. And then you say or do something you regret.
I've had many moments like that, especially in relationships.
Same here. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel emotions. It means you don't let them control your actions.
That's such an important difference.
One thing that helped me was learning to pause before reacting.
Yes, even a few seconds can change everything.
Instead of reacting immediately, I started asking myself, is this really worth my energy?
I love that question. For me, it was learning to name my feelings.
What do you mean?
Like, instead of saying, I'm angry, I would say, I'm frustrated or I'm disappointed.
Oh yeah, that makes a big difference.
It helped me understand myself better and communicate more clearly with others.
And that connects back to communication, right?
Exactly. When you understand your emotions, you can express them in a healthier way.
Another thing I learned was that emotions are temporary.
Yes, they feel permanent in the moment, but they're not.
When I was younger, one bad day felt like my whole life was falling apart.
Same. I would think this feeling will never go away.
But now I know feelings come and go.
And knowing that gives you patience with yourself and with others.
I think emotional control also helps with stress.
So much. Once I understood my stress triggers, I could manage them better.
Like knowing what situations make you anxious or overwhelmed.
Yes, and learning how to calm yourself down, going for a walk, taking a deep breath, or just taking a break.
Simple things, but very powerful.
I really wish schools talked more about emotional skills.
Me too, because emotions affect every part of life: work, relationships, health.
And learning emotional control before 25 can save you from a lot of unnecessary pain.
But again, it's not about being perfect.
No one is emotionally perfect.
It's about being aware and willing to grow.
And being kind to yourself while you learn.
All right, so we've covered money, communication, and emotional awareness.
Next, let's talk about something that everyone says they don't have enough of: time.
All right, so let's talk about something almost everyone complains about: time.
Yes, the famous sentence, I don't have enough time.
I used to say that all the time, especially in my early 20s.
Same. I always felt busy, but at the end of the day, I wasn't sure what I actually did.
That's such a real feeling. Being busy doesn't always mean being productive.
Exactly. I think one of the biggest lessons I learned is that time management isn't really about time, it's about priorities.
I agree. Everyone has the same 24 hours, but we use them very differently.
When I was younger, I didn't plan my days at all. I just reacted to whatever happened.
Same here. I would wake up, check my phone, and suddenly an hour was gone.
And then you feel rushed and stressed for the rest of the day.
Yes, I realized that if I didn't control my time, something else would.
Like social media, messages, or other people's plans.
Exactly. One thing that really helped me was creating simple daily routines.
Same, not strict schedules, but small habits I could repeat every day.
That's where discipline comes in. And I know the word discipline sounds scary.
It really does. People think it means being very strict or boring.
But for me, discipline actually created freedom.
I love that. Having a few daily habits made my life feel more stable.
For example, waking up to a similar time every day.
Or setting a short time to focus on important tasks without distractions.
When I didn't have discipline, I was always catching up.
Same. I felt like I was always behind, even when I wasn't.
Another thing I learned is that you don't need to do everything in one day.
Yes, that mindset causes so much pressure.
Learning to break big tasks into small steps changed everything for me.
Small steps feel less stressful and more realistic,
And they're easier to start.
which helps with procrastination.
Oh yeah, procrastination was my biggest enemy.
Same here. I used to wait until I felt ready.
And that feeling rarely came.
Exactly. I learned that action comes before motivation, not after.
That's such an important lesson. Doing something small often creates motivation.
Time management also helped me protect my energy.
Yes, not all hours of the day feel the same.
I realized I was more focused in the morning, so I started doing harder tasks then.
I'm the same. In the evening, my energy is much lower.
So instead of forcing myself, I adjusted my schedule.
That kind of awareness makes a big difference.
I think learning time management before 25 helps you build a life you actually enjoy.
Because you're not always rushing or feeling guilty.
And discipline doesn't mean you can't relax.
It means you relax without stress.
That's the best kind of rest.
So yeah, managing time and building daily discipline isn't about being perfect.
It's about being consistent.
And kind to yourself when things don't go as planned.
All right, next up, let's talk about something that helps you adapt to change and grow in any situation.
So yeah, the next life skill is something I didn't even realize was a skill until much later. Learning how to learn.
Same here. When we're young, we think learning only happens in school.
Exactly. You study, take tests, graduate, and then you think you're done.
But real life doesn't work like that.
Not at all. The world changes so fast. New jobs, new technology, new ways of working.
And if you don't know how to learn on your own, it can feel very scary.
I remember my first job after college. I thought I was prepared, but honestly, I wasn't.
Same. I felt lost and didn't want to ask too many questions.
Yes, I was afraid of looking stupid.
Me too. I thought everyone else knew what they were doing.
Which, of course, wasn't true.
Not at all. Everyone was learning, just quietly.
One big lesson for me was understanding that not knowing something is normal.
And asking questions is part of learning, not a weakness.
Exactly. Once I accepted that, learning became easier.
Another thing is learning from mistakes.
That one took me a long time.
Same. I used to see mistakes as failure.
Me too. One mistake could ruin my confidence for days.
But now I see mistakes as feedback.
Yeah, they show you what doesn't work.
And what you can do differently next time.
Learning how to learn also means knowing how you learn best.
That's so important. Not everyone learns the same way.
Some people learn by reading, others learn by doing.
I learn better when I explain things out loud.
Same. Teaching someone else really helps me understand.
When I was younger, I thought struggling meant I was bad at something.
But struggle is actually part of the process.
Exactly. If something feels hard, it doesn't mean you should quit. It means your brain is learning.
I wish someone had told me that before 25.
Me too. I would have been more patient with myself.
Learning how to learn also means staying curious.
Yes, being open to new ideas, even when they feel uncomfortable.
And understanding that learning doesn't stop at a certain age.
It's a lifelong thing.
And that's actually exciting.
Because it means you're never stuck.
You can always grow, change, and improve. All right, so we've talked about managing money, communication, emotions, time, and learning.
And next, we're going to talk about something that connects all of these skills together.
Taking responsibility for your own life. Yeah, so this next life skill might sound a bit serious, but it's incredibly important. Taking responsibility for your own life.
I agree. And honestly, this was one of the hardest lessons for me to learn.
Same here. When I was younger, it was easier to blame other things.
Yeah, I blamed my job, my family, the economy, basically everything.
I did that too. I would say if things were different, my life would be better.
Exactly. But at some point, you realize that waiting for perfect conditions doesn't work.
Taking responsibility doesn't mean blaming yourself for everything.
That's such an important point.
It means accepting that you have control over your choices, even if you don't control everything around you.
I remember the moment I understood that. It was uncomfortable, but also freeing.
Freeing how?
Because I stopped waiting for someone else to fix my life.
That's powerful.
Once I accepted responsibility, I started asking better questions.
Like what?
Instead of, why is this happening to me? I asked, what can I do about this?
That mindset shift changes everything.
It really does. You feel less like a victim and more like an active part of your life.
I think in your 20s, it's easy to feel lost and powerless.
Especially when you compare yourself to others.
Oh yeah, social media makes it worse.
Everyone looks successful and confident online.
But you don't see their struggles.
Taking responsibility also means owning your mistakes.
That one hurts.
It does, but avoiding responsibility hurts more in the long run.
I learned that admitting a mistake actually builds trust.
Yes, with others and with yourself.
Another part is understanding that no one is coming to save you.
That sounds scary, but it's true.
And once you accept that, you stop waiting.
You start taking small actions.
And small actions add up.
Taking responsibility doesn't mean you have to do everything alone.
That's important to say.
You can ask for help, advice, or support.
But you're still responsible for using that help.
Exactly. I think this skill connects all the others we talked about.
Money, communication, emotions, time, and learning, it all comes back to responsibility.
And learning this before 25 can change the direction of your life.
But again, if you're older and listening, it's never too late.
Never.
All right, so now that we've covered the main life skills, let's slow down a bit and reflect.
Yeah, let's talk about what we wish we had known earlier.
Yeah, now that we've talked about all these life skills, I think it's a good moment to reflect a little.
I agree. This part feels more personal.
When I look back at my early 20s, I realized I was much harder on myself than I needed to be.
Same here. I expected myself to have everything figured out.
And when I didn't, I thought something was wrong with me.
Me too. I compared myself to others all the time.
I wish I had known that feeling lost is actually normal.
Yes, it doesn't mean you're failing, it means you're learning.
I also wish I had understood that progress is usually slow.
So slow.
I thought big changes would happen quickly.
But most growth happens quietly, day by day.
Another thing I wish I knew before 25 is that it's okay to change your mind.
That's such a good one. I felt like every decision had to be final.
Same, like choosing the wrong path would ruin my life.
But life isn't that strict.
No, you're allowed to try things, fail, and start again.
I also wish I had trusted myself more.
Me too. I looked for approval from other people instead of listening to my own voice.
And that made me feel insecure.
Yeah, confidence doesn't come from being perfect.
It comes from experience and making mistakes.
I also wish I had learned earlier that asking for help is a strength.
Absolutely. I thought being independent meant doing everything alone.
But no one grows alone.
Another big one for me is patience.
Oh, yes.
I wanted results immediately. Success, happiness, clarity.
Same. But real change takes time.
And that's okay.
Looking back, I wish I had enjoyed the journey more.
Me too. I was always worried about the future.
And missed a lot of small moments.
I think if I could talk to my younger self, I'd say, you're doing better than you think.
That's beautiful. I'd say something similar.
And I'd remind myself that life isn't a race.
Yeah, everyone moves at their own pace.
These reflections aren't about regret.
They're about understanding.
And growth.
All right, let's turn these reflections into something helpful for our listeners.
Yeah, let's gently share a few thoughts for anyone listening right now.
So, if you're listening right now and thinking about your own life, we just want to say one thing first.
You don't need to have everything figured out.
Not at 20, not at 25, not even at 30.
Life skills aren't something you learn all at once.
They grow slowly through experience.
If you're struggling with money, communication, emotions, or time, it doesn't mean you're failing.
It means you're human.
We really hope you don't compare your progress to others.
Because everyone's path looks different.
Some people grow faster in one area and slower in another.
And that's completely okay.
Our gentle advice is to start small.
Pick one skill that feels important to you right now.
Not all of them.
Just one.
And be patient with yourself.
Change doesn't happen overnight.
But small steps taken consistently really do add up.
Also, be kind to yourself when things don't go as planned.
Because they often won't.
And that's part of learning.
You're allowed to make mistakes.
You're allowed to change your mind.
And you're allowed to grow at your own pace.
If no one has told you today, you're doing better than you think.
And you're not alone in this.
All right, that brings us to the end of today's episode.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
We hope this conversation gave you something to think about and maybe even a little comfort.
If you enjoyed listening, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and follow Daily Cup English.
We post new English podcast episodes every day with real conversations like this one.
Perfect for listening while you relax, walk, or enjoy your daily cup of coffee.
If you found this episode helpful, feel free to share it with a friend who might need it.
And let us know in the comments, which life skill do you want to work on next?
We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks again for listening.
Take care of yourself.
And we'll see you in the next episode of Daily Cup English.
Bye for now.